Coming to you live from the Special Olympics, it's the 10 Point Podcast. My name is Bruce, and my voice is already gone. Oh, and I'm under the weather this week. My name is Bruce, and you're a disgrace. You're wasting my oxygen. Get off your butt and do something. Hey, you, stop looking at those people around you. I'm talking to you, the loser who listened to this podcast. I've had bowel movements with more spine than you. Do you like coming in second place? Well, I don't, and from now on, neither do you. Guessing how many fingers I have this week, he can count to potato, it's Chris.
And this little stabby hello. You ruined my thing, but I had the bowel movements thing.
And secondly, the Dion Sanders of retards, it's Andy.
We started already this podcast.
It's a compliment.
Yes.
We are the 10 Point Podcast. We come to you live every week here on every single podcast app around the world. And you can get video versions on YouTube and on Spotify. Google 10 Point Podcast, you will find us. We're everywhere. 10pointpodcast.com.
You really are struggling.
Is where we live. I am seriously under the weather. We've pushed this to the last limit to which we can record the episode this week because I'm not well. And that's pretty much the story here. Chris has already coughed as well, so that's two of us down. So we'll see if Andy can get ill to the podcast as well. Just Google 10 Point Podcast, you will find us. I'm going to be taking lots of breaks and drinks of water during this. So what was everyone's highlight of the week? Andy, start with you.
Well, originally I was going to go and watch Cocaine Bear at the cinema, but then I didn't. And then this podcast got pushed. So I could talk about, I went and seen Ryan Reynolds in person. That is a proper epic highlight of the year.
Yes, it's the unseen fourth member of the podcast. Really.
Exactly. So yeah, I went to the O2 Arena, Ryan Reynolds' first kind of big scale Q&A with Rob Delaney hosting, which I'll say, I'm a massive Ryan Reynolds fan. I wanted more than an hour and 25 minutes. So I am glad. I'm glad that I didn't pay like more than 20 quid. And I got upgraded to like being right close. I could almost smell him. Couldn't quite kidnap him for the podcast, but I could get some essence of Orion. Which loads of stuff came out. Like there's loads of bits and pieces which we all kind of know and love and all that. But the internet just decided to clickbait the shit out of it. Basically, he does this whole long thing about how he loved doing Free Guy and blah, 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 and they set up a sequel, but he just has no story for the sequel. So, but then he also said, but sometimes you don't need a sequel. That got taken to Free Guy 2 isn't happening, Ryan confirms. It's like, well, that's not what he said.
And also the quote was, not every film needs a sequel.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
As in that, which wasn't what he said.
And then his other great misquote was, which we all know on some step or another, where Green Lantern is an utter dumpster fire, which he did say, but he said it in the content of he absolutely loved Green Lantern because obviously he found his wife Blake Lively there. He got on with all the cast and the crew. He loved it. The one thing he didn't actually like about it was when he first seen it, because the first time apparently he seen it was in the premiere screening.
Right, okay.
So he didn't even see any test footage, nothing. And he said the biggest problem he had with the film, watching it, cringing, was the scene like they kept backing themselves into a corner and they bought their way out of it. And he said that was the problem with it. He said when they didn't do, like, something wasn't quite right, rather than asking for people to come back, which he said he was more than happy to do, they green screened it. Right. Or they CGI'd it, or they got them to call it like an actor to do a voiceover so they can CGI stuff. And he said it's big companies spending loads of money caused that film to be bad. But he said everybody on the film he loved, he got on with. And that's why Deadpool is the way it is, because he wanted to do it in a budget. And he said basically the cocaine budget of Green Lantern is what he made Deadpool on. that was to genuinely quote Ryan Reynolds on that one.
I always find Green Lanterns overhated. Like I have it on DVD, and I don't think that would be the first time I'd have seen it. Like I've had it for a long time, so I reckon I saw it at the cinema, quite enjoyed it, and bought the DVD.
Well, Rob Delaney, like he said, it's like I've seen Green Lantern. And I decided to watch it with my kids before, obviously, I'm going to come and interview you again, Ryan. And Rob was like, I don't understand your hate for it.
It's cool to hate it.
Yeah, and Ryan just basically said, I sat in that cinema, I did not like it at all. So he came out of it going, I've got two options. Pretend it doesn't exist, or use it to my advantage and trash it at every single second I can, because people are going to trash it already. So he said he got in there first.
I can see how you could complain about the first Deadpool and the Wolverine movie, and that I can see his problem
Yeah.
with that. But Green Lantern, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. He also did mention about the Wolverine thing and said, yeah, Hugh Jackman almost ruined his career with that dumpster fire as well. He kept using the word dumpster fire a lot.
Dumpster fire, yeah.
But yeah, that was my highlight. And also, Rob Delaney did slip up and basically said he is in Deadpool 3 because pre-production started in London already this week, so he's in it with an epic beard if he is going to start filming very soon.
Yeah, I've got to say, yeah.
So.
I'll go with my highlight next because I can blow it up.
Was it getting out of bed?
Yeah, I made it. Yeah. I made it outdoors. Yeah. No, because I can blow my voice out on that by saying Mando.
Hey, it's back.
Yes, my boy Grief was back as well, and that has blown my voice out. Excuse me while I cough.
Well, did you get the same thing as me when you're watching it and going, oh, this is a nice little this is Mando when he was a wee Mando.
100%.
It was absolutely. They did that perfectly because I think it got everybody in there. And I was like, "Oh, it's wee Mando," and then it's like, "All right, the Mandalorians are pretty cool here." And then suddenly you see the old Naboo Starfire. It's like, "That's Mando."
I know.
It's the present time.
Yeah, I think everyone. They did get literally everybody.
Yeah.
I thought that, and I was like, okay, maybe not. Or maybe this is Bo-Katan when she was young or something like that. Because the guy was quite androgynous, the little child. I thought, oh, maybe it's a girl. But yeah, I think everyone in the world was like, oh, definitely a flashback. Definitely a flashback. Oh, no, it's not a flashback. But yeah, I'm very happy it's back. And Mando, of all the shows in the world, The Mandalorian is the one show where I most just sit and just enjoy nothing happening. And I don't know why. Like, it was most strongest at the end of the show where you see this planet and we watch. Here's Mando's plane, comes and lands. And Mando's plane, it lands. And then the thing opens. And then he gets out. And then Grogu gets out. And then they stand. And then they walk over. And then they walk up some stairs. And then they walk along. And it's like, nothing's happening. I'm like, oh my God, I love this show so much. Nothing is happening. Like, it just takes 5 minutes for them to get on out of a plane and into a building. And I don't know what it is with the show. I love nothing happening in it. But
The flaw is it's not long enough. It lulls you into a false sense because it says like for 50 minutes. So you're sitting there and half an hour in, it's done. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And there's like 20 minutes of ads.
Yeah.
Not ads, like credits.
Video stuff. Yeah. But what I do like about Mando is like they didn't explain any of the Boba Fett stuff. They just like, you got to watch it.
Yeah.
And they haven't explained that they're like Grogu was with Luke for 2 years, which is like Favreau had to come out and say that.
That's mad, isn't it? That stuff.
And it's like, it's genius. It's like, yeah, it makes a bit of sense because when like I was like, all right, so he's basically like ultimately the last episode he got booted out, and he's already going straight back to her going, I'm going to atone for my thing and all this. And I was like, wait, this is like, but actually it's been like 2 years. It's like, all right, that makes a bit of sense. Obviously had Boba Fett in between. Yeah, absolutely brilliant show.
Yeah, I love it. It's just nothing happening. It's great. And also, you always know that they build up to a crescendo in Mandalorian. Yep. Like it's little bits and pieces and little fetch missions here and there. Oh, you need this? Oh, of course. I'm completely forgetting the best thing was whether it's him or not. Babu Frick was in it. Like at least a bunch of Babu Fricks were in it.
Oh, I love guy.
I Grogu just like trying to like basically manhandle him. It's like brilliant, like a little hug, and then just him just like there just chilling. It's like, yep, I've been with Luke Skywalker. I don't want to be a Jedi, but I'm still going to use the Force to eat some sweeties. Brilliant, just enough, just the right amount of Grogu.
It's the Babu Frick scene where he's explaining to Mando what he needs to do to his ship in this sort of weird, kind of alien, but also kind of English.
Yeah.
So once you kind of you can kind of hear the words he's saying, but the whole time Grief is just peeking through. He says this. It's like, yes, I understand him. I can, I got that. Yeah, never so often. Oh, I wasn't sure what he said there. And then Grief just starts shouting again back into the door. Oh, I love Mandalorian. So I'm very happy it's back. It was definitely.
And even Salad Monster was all right with him as well. He looked a bit too green, but I still enjoyed it. I like physical props and physical sets and stuff and costumes. It works.
Yeah. Very good. I'm still not sure what those pirates are trying to do drinking in a school. Like, I don't know what were they going to gain by going and drinking with a bunch of kids?
Well, going for one of our categories, pedophiles.
Yeah, maybe. So that's my highlight. Chris, what was your highlight?
Well, I finished Better Call Saul.
Oh,
and
I've not finished it yet. I kind of stopped.
Oh, shit. Well, all I'll say is, fuck, I can't say anything.
Just say whether it was good or not, or it really is.
Well, I'm going to say the last 2 episodes were disappointing.
Right, okay.
Because, like you said, like things built to a crescendo. It's kind of like crescendo that went down. That's all I'll say.
See, I think watched about 4 episodes, and I was like, I'm really enjoying this. But I know where it goes, and he doesn't look young enough to be in Breaking Bad, and now it annoys me, and there's going to be, I'm sure they tie up bits, but I was well enjoying it. I was like, I made my own story up and went, nah, I'm not watching this.
I started Breaking Bad again now, so
I know I
highlighted Breaking Bad.
Yeah, when I finish Better Call Saul, I know I'm going to start Breaking Bad again, because I've only ever seen Breaking Bad basically once through, I think. So it's be a good rewatch. Right then, we better crack on before Chris spoils that for me. Sorry, Chris. But,
that's fine.
It's hardly new, so people know Better Call Saul is quite good, I think. On the point one on the podcast, point one is what's the point? The point this week is the 2005 sports comedy The Ringer. Written by Ricky Blitt. Most impressive thing he's written outside of this was 6 episodes of Family Guy, so not much in the way there. And directed by Barry Blaustein, who's a very famous writer in Hollywood. Writer behind such things as Police Academy 2, and basically he gets credited on every Police Academy movie afterwards that has characters that he created for that. So actually, if I'm wrong, I might be wrong, Chris, was your main man old Bobcat? Was he not just in Police Academy 2 first? Was that his first one?
2, 3, 4.
So technically, Barry Blaustein, who directed The Ringer, might have been behind Zed getting into it. Barry Blaustein also wrote Coming to America and Coming to America, Boomerang, another Eddie Murphy movie, The Nutty Professor 1 and 2, you may see a trend there. 56 episodes of Saturday Night Live he wrote. But for me, he jumps out as a name because he's the guy behind Beyond the Mat, the legendary wrestling documentaries, the writer, director, producer, everything of Beyond the Mat. So he's the guy who directed this. Not a big director, but that's what he did. I'm going to have a quick cough break here.
Fill in the gaps.
He's not the guy who does Randy Savage impression, is he?
I don't believe so. I don't think
he's a guy who does like a spot-on impression. I'll have to say, and he says it's great.
Fair enough. The film stars, that's The Ringer, as Steve or Jeffy, depending on which part of the film you are, Johnny Knoxville. I've got famous for being in Jackass. Is he particularly famous for being in anything else, really?
He was in Men in Black too. He was in Coyote Ugly.
That's not Welcome to the Jungle. What's the thing with The Rock?
Walking Tall was the one he was
in. That's the one.
Rock, yeah. But yeah, it's basically he's the guy from
Jackass.
Yeah,
Jackass.
What he is. Co-starring as Uncle Gary, we have Brian Cox, the legendary Scottish actor who shows up in he's not in everything like some actors are in everything. He just shows up. He could show up in anything, Brian Cox. Just the most random stuff is what he appears in. But to me, what he's famous for, basically, he was the first ever guy to portray Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter.
I keep forgetting about that.
From the mid-'80s, the first ever Red Dragon was turned into a film, and it was called Manhunter. Then X-Men 2 is his most famous role to me, where he makes Wolverine, basically. And he's most famous now because he's the patriarch in Succession, the big American drama that's on at the moment that I haven't started yet, but it's meant to be the best thing since probably Better Call Saul. He's the main man in that as well.
Super Troopers, he's in everything.
He is in absolutely everything. And then third star, as Lynn, we have Katherine Heigl, who was very, very famous for about, 5 years around about this film getting made. Most famous for Grey's Anatomy, and then probably film-wise, Knocked Up, I think, are her two big highlights for Katherine Heigl. But other than that, she made
27 dresses.
27 dresses, you are right. Kind of rom-coms between about 05 and 09. But yeah, that's Katherine Heigl. The Ringer, on a budget, my voice is going, on a budget of $20 million, opened in the US, $5 million its first weekend. Final US gross, $35.5 million. Final worldwide, twice its budget, $40.5 million for The Ringer. You absolutely would not get this kind of comedy getting that much return these days. It just absolutely would not happen. It's very much a film of its age before we even get to the content within. The film released 23rd of December 2005 in America. We had to wait till 24th of March in 2006 to get it over here. Big gap in between. That meant 2006 award season, I should say. 06 Oscars. No nominations. That's not surprising to hear, I wouldn't think. 06 Razzies. also no nominations.
Oh.
I was sure the Razzies wouldn't like the sound of this film, so therefore would nominate it.
But I'll tell you what, like, if this film came out now, this would have to just automatically be put into an Oscar category. I'm just saying.
Well, the proof is there, because there's a new Woody Harrelson movie out where he coaches a team of disabled athletes.
Which is pretty much this film. They're going to try and redo it.
See,
which I've seen loads of trailers for. I'm excited because I like this film as well.
Okay. And then 2005 Saturn Awards, 2006 Saturn Awards, again, I got me. You're wrong. No nominations there for The Ringer either. It only ever received one award nomination in its history. It was at the 2005 actually, I don't know why it was a different year, Stinkers Bad Movie Awards.
Oh.
Nominated for Worst Actor, Johnny Knoxville. However, it was him for being in this, Dukes of Hazzard, and Daltrey Calhoun, which I've never heard of.
I've never heard of that one.
So all three of those films he was nominated for, but he did not win. He was not Worst Actor because Jamie Kennedy lost for Son of the Mask, which came out.
Has been one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
We should totally do that film next.
I'm surprised it's not on someone's list to come up.
Absolutely not.
It's that bad. Synopsis of the film The Ringer by, it sounds like some noise I would make coughing up something. Befleur. It's all, I think it's some, I don't know, it's maybe an initial and maybe other things.
So sorry for just butchering your name, whoever that is.
Yeah, but you're the only person to put a name to a synopsis on IMDb.
You know it's going to be good then.
It's not particularly long, I'll say that. This comedy is about two guys who decide to rig the Special Olympics to pay off a debt by having one of them, Steve, brackets Knoxville, pose as a contestant in the games, hoping to dethrone reigning champion Jimmy. Mentally challenged hijinks and hilarity surely follow. And that's the end of the story.
I know what that is. That should be on the back of the DVD. That
it
is
quite well could be.
Perfectly sums this film up.
Well, it needs to be a new code for our introduction for the podcast for us. Mentally challenged hijinks and hilarity will surely follow. Who picked The Ringer? It was Andy. Why have you picked The Ringer?
Well, one, if it's bang into my theme perfectly, and two, I feel like we need to try and see if we can cancel the podcast inadvertently and see how good we actually all are. We've came close a few times. This one's the subject matter is there for us to discuss and talk. I thought it'd be a laugh.
Pushing boundaries of political correctness, you think? Yeah. Presumably Andy had seen it before. Chris, had you seen it before?
I had. This was probably one of the first films I ever got, like dodgily. One of the first copy films I ever had.
Way back when.
The table
back in the day. Yeah.
Imagine being busted. Why'd you get busted? Oh, I got The Ringer on DVD.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think I have seen this before. It's familiar to me, so I might actually be. At most, it's once I've seen it before. Which channel would we find it on?
None, probably.
I believe so. I think that's probably right enough. It seems like it screams out like Sky Movies when it came out, but then by the time it would have made it to terrestrial, it was I can't put that on TV anymore.
I don't even think you can get this on any streaming services now. Like,
I think you can rent it on Amazon, can you?
Right. They're the only ones ballsy enough to put it on. And
yeah, and you can
other than that's a DVD jobby or Blu-ray jobby.
I think so. I pass it around. Yeah. Which version? There's only one version. I couldn't find any evidence of there being a super X-rated cut or anything like that because it's quite a nice film. It's not shouting and swearing and all that sort of stuff. It's not a kind of, I don't know. It's not an adult comedy like we're getting like Super Bads and your Hangovers and all that. It's reasonably pleasant film. So there is only the one version of it. And that brings us on to point 2, the high points, what we thought the best bits and things of The Ringer are. Andy, why don't you lead us off while I try and recover for a bit?
I don't really know what to start with my high point. I don't really have a high point early doors. However, I would say my instant dislike to, what do you call him, Knoxville's, is he his dad? Or
his Uncle Gary.
Uncle Gary.
That's my first high point. Yeah.
Well, like he's good. But like, it's just such a weird start to a film because normally you get like explosions or actions or just some kind of content. It's like the very first kind of content you get is like, this guy's just a dick, and then comes up with this genius idea, but not so genius idea because he just basically thinks that the Special Olympics is like any normal human being that's run track can win.
Way better, yeah.
And I don't know. It's a weird like. I liked it, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of doing one of you guys when you go in the middle ground.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably pass over to Chris because he is a great character. I'll give him that.
Oh, yeah, it's just him. Like I think it's Brian Cox plays him perfect. like
Yes.
to perfection.
You just have to wonder why he took the role, and he must only have just seen fun. Like, oh, I get to say, what is it like, Megatard?
Megatard, retard.
That's what it is. Yeah. He must have. I could have so much fun with this, and I could be the dick and get away with it. Sorry, Chris, I cut you off.
No, that's just what he's like. He comes up with a lot of the funny lines at the start until again, there's not a lot happens until he actually gets to the Olympic arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first half hour is stuff happening, and it's like you need the stuff happening because really, in retrospect, you really need a Steve Johnny Knoxville to have a proper reason to do what he's doing, and the whole thing spins out of control from him being a nice guy, and it's like he has to pluck up the courage to ask for the promotion, and then he immediately gets it, and he immediately has to do the worst thing he could possibly imagine, and then get himself out of that. So yeah, you need it, but it's not great at the beginning.
Yeah, like it always reminds me of that episode of South Park when Cartman does this. The little montage of Johnny Knoxville going through his personality that he's really used.
That is actually my first high point. Like, I don't know, it's weird to call it as a high point. He nails it. He absolutely nails it. Like, because that's exactly how we all imagine people with special needs are.
I have that as my first low point. So I'm going to already spoil that. Is at that point, I was just, as what I was just saying, is that it's fine, okay, and like this is your reasoning. It's not too exciting. And then once he does the I needed to pretend to be disabled in the mirror part, I'm like, okay, right, this you're getting a bit low. This is a bit unnecessary. You could just be quiet disabled. I know it's a film and all that, but you could just be shy and a bit more kind of Rain Man with it, a bit withdrawn about it. But yeah, when he goes full on, I want to throw my poop at you or whatever it is. I can count to potato and all that, and I'm like, oh, okay, right. You've gone to lowest common denominator stuff here, but then it just picked back up again. Like I just because you're mentioning it now, it's not worth a whole low point on its own. But yeah, I had that as my first thing where I was like, ugh, roll my eyes at it. My first high point I've got is quite far into the film, but it's when he finds out that his uncle put Dahmer as his surname.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
I guess the film that I was thinking of, I was like, why do I know the name Dahmer?
Yeah, and genuinely, like, obviously, I watched the Jeffy Dahmer Netflix thing. It's like watching this film, that joke went straight over my head. But now it's funny every time his name comes up. It's like, fuck it.
It's like Dahmer's like with a no. So it's different.
Yeah.
With a no, yeah, it is different.
But I do like going back to Brian Cox's bit is when he's like entering him into the Special Olympics, and then Katherine Heigl goes, "Oh, we got his papers," and then they need to think on their feet. Like the kind of first thing where it's like, "Oh shit, we're about to get caught out here," and just like his whole thing of just like, he does the whole thing that you said, and then it's just like Johnny Knoxville's like, it comes across and he's says the whole thing, but it's just their whole little plan there.
Cool,
and it's like, all right, I'm with it. It's like I can believe that this could have happened.
Yeah. Talking of believability, as a high point I've got here, she might not be a spectacular actress, but Katherine Heigl, I very much believe her in this role. Like sometimes you get these films where there's the spectacularly glamorous, beautiful love interest is in this, like, is a waitress in some crappy bar and she's way too intelligent for and all that stuff. Katherine Heigl is beautiful, but I very much believe her being she comes across as a nice person who would absolutely be doing this. And then when you learn about her brother
and stuff,
it's like, yes, I totally believe you in this role. And she seems very genuine. Just one or two bits where she's not great at the old acting, but
I mean, she can't pick a man, but still.
But yeah, exactly, yeah. But she plays the role really well as Katherine Heigl. I don't think she'll get too much praise beyond this, but yeah, I thought she was perfect for that role. Again, she's not a massive actress either. She's only in some bits and pieces. So yeah, her and Brian Cox were great. Knoxville, not so much.
I was going to say, like, when I first watched this for like the first time, I genuinely thought the actors playing the people with disabilities were people with disabilities.
Right. I'm going to do a Bruce here. This is my low point in this film. Okay. I'm exactly with Chris on this one. I remember watching this film, and it's one of the main reasons why I picked this was because I thought there was more people with special needs in this film.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only like genuinely like one main one, and then like maybe two, but the rest, the ones that have most of the lines, are all actual actors, and it blew my mind watching again. It's like, wait,
it wasn't until the guy behind Bruce's left ear, Glenn, he's in the Deadpool.
Yeah.
I was like, I recognise him from somewhere. For life, I could put it where it was.
And then the guy with the bandana behind you.
With Devil.
Like,
The telltale for me, yeah, was Winston. When I checked it, he'd been in Devil. Spoiler
Yeah.
for later, and I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute here.
I genuinely thought like everybody had disabilities.
Yep.
When I
I
first
was
watched
the same.
this.
And yeah, that's good. It's good. Coming back. I'm circling back around to some low points.
Hopefully, this was a high point for me, so hopefully he passes the test. But I liked Thomas. He was my favorite background guy. So am I allowed to like him? Was
Oh,
his
you're allowed. Like I said, I've got no problem with it. Like they all
Oh, they're
did what they
great.
did, like
Yeah.
perfect. And
But
like
yeah.
to be PC and stuff like that, obviously everybody with special needs and all that, they liked it. They liked what they did. They learned from them, and it's great. But the actual guy, like one of my other high points, I can just skip past was the thing with the CDs.
He steals this movie for you big time.
And he is absolutely like his lines and stuff like just the stuff that comes out with. And then like the bit that always gets me is like, what, there was fucking ice cream or something like that, he says.
Oh,
that was him. That was
Winston. Oh yeah.
That is hands down the funniest bit. That's probably
yeah, it is absolutely the best bit. It was,
which
which
I found out about. Like apparently he just did that off the cuff, and Johnny Knoxville actually burst out.
That's literally him about to crack up, laughing at it.
Yeah, and that was their one F-bomb because they got in with the rating as a 12 or a 15, PG-13. That was the one F-bomb they're allowed, and he gave it. They let Winston have it.
But like I said, watching this as like younger and like more naive, every single one of these people have got special needs to me. It's like acting credit. It's probably not the role you want to do because obviously look what's happened to Robbie Downey Jr. now. You don't want to be miscast, but these guys like literally nailed it. I think.
I always remember this film for Billy. Like as soon as you see him, he just stares at John Knoxville with the big glasses in the eyes, and then it's the flack,
flack. Yeah, very
like,
good.
Again, for me, like Glenn, what's he called? Is it Jed Reese?
Yes.
Fucking nails it as well.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. But for me, Thomas steals the last half hour of the film. Just basically when they introduce his kind of love storyline that he has, every time he says anything, it just absolutely slays me. It's like I don't know what it like. It feels like they started giving him punchlines to things like with the I've got Lynn's boyfriend's cousin, that scene with the ice cream and all that. Just when she finally walks off and leaves, he just goes, "Goodbye, hooker lady." It's just out of nowhere. It's the way he says something about the letter L that he does. It's really funny and all that. There's absolutely no way he finished fourth to get the bronze medal, though.
No.
If you take every competition in isolation for Thomas, he's horrific at all of them, and somehow he ended up getting the bronze medal when it was.
That's coming up later on.
When it was forfeited. But yeah, he just absolutely just started cracking me up. It's like the last 45 minutes, half hour of the film. I've got two more high points. Is all I've got. Well, actually, I tell you what, I'm not.
I've got one final little thing. Is we need to get Winston on to do reviews because he is spot on with his reviews.
Yes.
Right, pick a film. Jaws. That's a good movie. Or yes, that's a movie or something.
Yeah, pick a film, any film.
Yeah.
That was good. A training montage set to the Magnificent Seven theme. That was a
yeah.
I was like, is that City Slickers? And I was like, why is it suddenly? And I had to Google it. Oh no, Magnificent Seven is what it is. But
it's City Slickers to me now. I can't.
Yes, I always think City Slickers, but yeah, I was just because Chantel was like, is that City Slickers? It's like, yes. And it works. It just the montage works.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, because there's 7 of them. That's why.
Yeah. That might make sense. Another in joke went over my head.
My
other high point in the middle. We've got very much out of order with this here, but the confession scene where the priest is like, "Don't worry, son. There's nothing so bad you could do that you can't be forgiven for it." And then that's what he's done, and the priest kicks the shit out of him.
but then, like 3 seconds later, he's there putting a bet on.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and that's me for high points.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same.
I mean, it's not. I've gone quite quickly, but I think there are more high points, so we don't necessarily want to explain.
Most of it, we always struggle with high points in comedies because it's mostly just lines and stuff like that. But
there was this funny thing this guy said. It's not a great way to go through it. On to point 3, the low points. So it's not the worst bits and things of the film. Again, I've done Knoxville practicing being disabled in the mirror was a low point for me. So who else wants to take an early low point?
Well, I'm going to say like what we were kind of discussing before is the actors do a brilliant job of it, but now in the kind of PC snowflake world of them acting, it now annoys me. Like I said, I just thought every single one of them guys had special needs, and now watching it, it just annoyed me. So I'm going to have to put it as a low point, even though they're brilliant at it, which is a high point. It just took me. It was like, why you could just put some like funnier people in there. Like look at Biggie, he was in episodes of Jackass. Surely they could have found more people with special needs.
Yeah,
that are funny. There's millions of them. They're funny as hell.
Yeah.
And not because they've got special needs.
No, that does. They have
Yes.
there's a
Just so
certain,
Chris gave me that laugh up. Either.
there's a
But
certain
no.
timing and a certain sense of humour.
Yeah. But the other thing I actually kind of have a slight problem with, it kind of matches into this whole thing, is like the Special Olympics. It seems to be like this version of it is just everybody's got Down syndrome. Which do they have their own Special Olympics like that, or am I just as the Paralympics is like?
But I think Paralympics is more people who have actually.
Because I thought the Paralympics had people with Down syndrome in it as well, and like I'm now I don't know. I didn't do any research on this.
My belief is that there is such a wide and massive thing that it's because they have so many different events, and like you say, there's so many different qualifications. That's why basically the first thing Lynn asks for is his papers, so we can basically to send to which I don't know quarter of this building he needs to go to, because there's so many different things that need to be do. So yeah, you're right. That's like it seems to just be mentally deficient competitors, what you want to call it. They've got
Well, to be fair, because I did actually look up the main guy, the guy that they're all trying to beat. That he
Jimmy.
Yeah, which apparently he is like an actual Olympic athlete.
Right, okay.
And what's his diagnosis? No, I have to read this so that
Leonard Flowers is the actor's name. If that
helps. I did see this, but like he did. So it is the Special Olympics, and he is diagnosed with being retarded because, like, genuinely, because it was in the early 90s.
Right.
What was expecting?
Genuinely on the internet right now. But yeah, it literally that is what his condition was classified as on the Special Olympics. So
right,
the Special Olympics must generally be people with learning difficulties.
Well, there is, yes, but they have ones with their arm off and a leg off and all this sort of stuff, and the blind people doing things as well. So it is all of them. But this is what you're saying here. They featured mainly on because Johnny Knoxville. The whole point of the Garda was he could be fully fit, but pretend to not be all right in the head. If you know what I'm saying, Correct. It was all that. But yeah, you would have thought nowadays if they were, because the Special Olympics are a thing. It's not the Paralympics.
No, there is the actual Special Olympics, and that's what Leonard Flowers is part of.
Cool. They gave their blessing. Yeah. Oh yeah, you call it Special Olympics. But yeah, if they did it nowadays, they'd be let's have other disabilities represented as well. It's not just about the mob that's behind all of us on the background. Yeah. These guys.
Sorry, I misquoted. So Leonard Flowers is disabled, as they call it, and he is classified as mentally retarded.
Yes. Okay.
So that's this. So that is the actual diagnosis, which obviously they don't say now, but obviously because he was in the early 90s, people used the word.
I expect this big, massive, long thing.
So was I. And I was like, because I Googled it, I was just like, Leonard Flowers, because I was like, I wonder if he's actually special. And I Googled it, it's like, oh no, he is. 1990s, he was 18, competing in the second year of the Special Olympics. There you go. And a basketball game is what he did.
Oh, basketball as well.
And then and that was he got diagnosed with being mentally retarded.
You can tell that he. Sorry, you can tell that he's an athlete. He's an absolute he's sculpted and crafted.
But like I said, when watching this again, I was like, I had to question myself. I was like, well, the rest of them are now not because I've seen him. It's like, is he? I'm so confused.
Generally, we could have got Kevin Hart to play him. It was just the way he spoke, his height, and all that. It could have been perfect for Kevin Hart.
Very softly spoken, wasn't he? Anyway, on to some other low points. Before getting too bogged down in semantics here.
My first low point is how did Steve and Uncle Gary not get caught? Because they were talking about that quite loudly, like 2 o'clock in the morning. And there's like, Steve is overheard by his boss or whatever talking on the phone. And how did somebody not go like, that seems a bit dodgy there, mate. You're talking about rigging the Olympics. It was like, crazy uncle.
Yeah.
I also have no belief in, because Steve was always there. So I have no belief that Gary will be able to knock up fake papers that would count as qualifications for him to get in. Because basically, Lynn is like, oh well, I'm inclined to believe you. Okay, then come and enter the Special Olympics. But once he got through being like in the fastest 8 or whatever, he would need a bit more registration forms to get on to the next bit. So I don't believe that how they didn't get caught. It's a massive plot hole. Another plot hole for me. Everyone who was running in the 100-meter races when people fell over, everyone would get disqualified because they all left their lanes. So this goes for the final race, but in the qualifying rounds and all that, everyone's just running all over each other's lanes, so they'd all be disqualified. But the final race that the whole film is about, basically, builds up to, they all leave their lanes apart from Glenn, who goes on and wins. But he'd have won comfortably because everybody else would have been disqualified in that.
But do you know if that's a rule in the Special Olympics? It might
I
just
don't for a fact.
They might be able to won their lanes.
They might be. I'm not sure if it's fair that way. That's the whole thing.
Since you brought that up, I don't understand how Glenn won, because he only ever won that one event. And he was never near the top in the other events, so I don't understand how he won.
Basically, Jimmy won every event except the shot put was my boy Thomas, and then Knoxville won a different one, didn't he? He won an event. Oh, the high jump. Yeah, Jimmy seemed to be the best at all the rest, and somehow was Glenn second in every single event and then won the final event. Is that what we're supposed to believe? Because they were only talking before the last one about whether it was going to be Jimmy or whether it was going to be Jeffy. Not, oh, well, Glenn still in was a chance. So, yeah, it doesn't add up. And my final low point is more of a, I couldn't actually go back and find the bit where it happened. What was the bet? Because
just that Jimmy wouldn't win.
It was just the Jimmy way. It wasn't a case of it got to the end of the film and then the film tried to tell me that's what
the bet was
Jimmy was in the Olympics.
Right.
Because obviously he was a big Jimmy fan and that's why he just bet.
Right, it was the field versus Jimmy. It was.
Yeah.
Because there was a priest bet on Jeffy because he came in and he was like, I want money on Jeffy.
Yes. But no, it was just Jimmy wouldn't win was the bet on the house or whatever it was.
So the mobster actually took a really bad bet.
Yeah.
He would have no idea who else was in the competition.
Yeah. And also I'll just educate myself. I've just been reading on the actual differences between the Special Olympics and the Paralympics. The Special Olympics is just basically intellectual disability.
Ah, well there you go then.
So that would make sense. So I've educated myself there. I'm not so blinded. So yeah. Intellectual difficulties is Special Olympics. The Paralympics is more physical difficulties.
Physical difficulty. Perfect. There we go. There we are. It makes sense. That does seem.
It does.
So I am out of low points. So you guys fire away with the rest.
Right. My low point is the classic. It's probably more suited for the whatever we call it. What's Chris's point? Movie tropes.
Oh right. Okay.
It's a semi-movie trope, but it is ultimately a low point in this film. Is Johnny Knoxville falls for Katherine Heigl, but he's already pretending to be somebody that he's not. And at some stage, he's going to have to come clean, and it all goes to thingy. But then she just innocently goes, you're not too bad. I'll get back to you.
Would you generally date somebody who's just fixed the Olympics?
No.
Like Paralympics, Special Olympics?
I don't care how much he atones to. I know he was trying to do it for obviously his own personal interest to start off with, but then ultimately they all hate Jimmy. He then becomes friends with him. I kind of get that aspect of it, but ultimately she should still fucking hate him and not just be, okay, I'll kiss him.
It's like the lowest of the low.
Yeah, that's the ultimate thing. I don't think you get any lower than trying to rig the Special Olympics.
I'm not defending what he did, but what I will do is defend what he did, or defend what she did, because she clearly puts a lot of faith and a lot in her relationship with the Special Olympians, because they, I think, admitted that they had told her everything had happened, and she's like, oh yeah, they all said what happened, and then Stavy's there with his actual fingers back on again. So I think because all of these good guys that she loves so much said to him, oh no, the whole time he was Steve with us, and he's a good guy, and he was just trying to stop Jimmy, who you probably hate as well, Lynn, don't you? Oh yeah, I really hate him as well. So I think because they would all been like, oh yeah, he was nice the whole time to us. There was nothing funny going on. He was just there to try and do this, that, and the other. And the reason behind it all was that he was atoning for what he did. So I think she would be like, oh well, if you guys are okay with it. So I think he's quite handsome and all that. So because she was falling for him. Like she was doing that whole thing where admitting to her coworker, oh, he's one of the athletes and all that.
Maybe Stevie's got such mental retardations that he's actually mentally retarded.
Maybe he actually has it, yeah.
Yeah, just for me, it was a weird low point because it's like you see it in every film. It's just like, oh, you can see it coming a mile off.
Oh yeah.
The drama and stuff like that.
Even has the really if this was more of a comedy film, it would be a joke. But it seems to fit where he sees Katherine Heigl for the first time and it's all like blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah, 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 and it's like, God, it's a bit camp. It's a bit kitschy. But yeah, I agree. There is no coming back from that, but I could see how she could be talked around. Any other low points?
My final one is my boy Billy never competes. whatever side he's at. He never competes in any of the races.
Doesn't he?
That's a fair
Not,
point.
not once.
What was he doing there then?
I thought maybe it was like some sort of like
Logging, I think.
Aye, he's never in any of the races.
Maybe that's what he's doing on the computer. He's logging everybody's times. He's the record keeper.
Maybe.
That's the only thing I can think of. But he's
That's
never
blown my mind
competes.
right there.
Yeah.
That's actually blown my mind there, Chris.
Maybe he didn't qualify. Maybe he was meant in the early rounds, but he didn't make
Well,
the
then
final.
don't you get kicked out of the camp, or do you just kind of you're allowed to stay on like Olympic camp and bang everybody?
Maybe he's like a
That's
coach.
the thing. Johnny Knoxville gets kicked out the cap, and he stays over for another couple of days. Just like a little holiday home.
Definitely plot holes, I would say. Yeah. Are we out at low points?
I think so.
Yeah.
Right, we better crack on to stats. I've kept the usual ones. 1 shit and 1 F-bomb. Fairly steady stuff.
The best.
The
of them,
The F-bomb was a good one at the best stream. I can't remember what the shit was now as well, but it stood out to me. But the rest, basically a shutout. So to save me talking, none for the rest. No explosions or anything like that. No deaths. Tackleberry trifecta. We're a motorbike away again because Steve gets the girl in the end and he does a lot of running in this film. And do they say the thing? Did they say the ringer?
No.
Yes.
Did they? No.
Oh no, that.
At no point was the word ringer spoken.
I always think Chris tries to look at your facial thing and try and take a stab at the dark.
work out if I'm like.
Well,
come
yeah.
on.
I thought they said ringer at one point, but I was wrong.
I feel like it would have been Brian Cox's character that might
Yeah.
have done, but I missed it if they didn't. If they did, so Chris, any stats from you?
Yeah, since Johnny Knoxville's known for falling over, he fell over 10 times.
10
Yay.
times. That is to me. Actually, it should be in high points. I think Knoxville doing Knoxville things.
Oh,
Like
is that
the-
first one in the high jump? He just jumps and lands flat on his back. That cracked me up.
That was good. Yeah, getting hit with like the water balloons and water pistols and the nuts and all that sort of stuff as well.
So as you mentioned, that he has 4 nut shots.
Hey, there we go. Led straight into that one there. That you for stats?
That's me. Yep.
Andy, you usually have like a special factoid for us.
Oh, I got a fun fact because I never understood why this film was called The Ringer, and I had to literally Google like why is it called The Ringer, and
Yeah.
apparently it's a fraudulent person or a fake imposter.
Mhm.
Which
It would be.
I've
it
no
would be
idea.
Like, it would be like, say we ran the 10-point podcast football team, and then who's a good example? Lionel Messi, his contract with PSG ran out, and he was like unregistered. We could kind of sneak him into our team slightly. It's
Yeah.
like, oh
Well,
yeah,
see-
he could come in.
But that's why I always thought like a ringer was like I thought it was always like a great athlete or like your like A-game person coming in and like doing that, and obviously that's what I've always thought that, but I didn't know it was just a fraudulent person or an imposter.
Oh, I guess yeah, from that point of view. As well.
Yeah,
I've only ever heard it in the context of sports,
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. It's just like, oh, you bring in your ringer. It's like
with the exception of Big Lebowski, when they go to pass the money off, and John Goodman's character hand me the ringer, and he throws them his dirty undies instead of the money. I've heard that. That's the ringer. It's the only
Right.
one I've heard it.
yeah,
But you're right. It's like a fake version.
yeah,
Of something.
blew my mind.
Here we go. 10-point podcast quiz is point 5. So Andy, you can take over all the talk.
Right. So the guys knew what got vetoed, so we'll keep it at that. So this quiz is called Ringers. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go first? That's all the content you're getting.
I think
Chris go first.
I'll go. I was gonna say Bruce went first last time.
Right. You can try and work out where I'm going with this one, right? You should work out fairly quickly. Which famous Disney character rings the bell of Notre Dame?
Quasimodo.
Yeah, here we go. One
I couldn't
point.
think of his name. I had Hunchback in my head.
Me,
What, did you
I
ever
would have had
say
to say
that?
Hunchback. I'd forgotten Quasimodo was his name.
Bruce, in National Treasure, where could the second clue be found?
Okay.
Annabelle.
I need a bit more than that. I guess still with
Big
Chris.
Ben or something like that then.
Is it getting passed over?
Yeah, it's getting passed over.
Oh, the Liberty Bell.
It's the Liberty Bell.
Is it? Oh my
Yes.
For a film I've never seen. I'm not even getting that.
I've never seen it either.
Chris, which famous actress plays Tinkerbell in the movie Hook?
Oh, Julie Roberts.
Bruce. I bet Chris is glad he went first to this one. Tubular Bells is the theme of which famous horror movie?
The Exorcist.
It is The Exorcist. You're good. Chris, What is the nickname of the bell of the clock tower of the Palace of Westminster?
Big Ben? No, that's a clock tower. I don't have a clue.
What are you going for?
Ben? I don't know.
No, let's get through over, Bruce. I need more.
It's Big Ben. I thought he
It is
said.
Big Ben.
I did say Big Ben. That's the first
No,
thing I
but
said.
you didn't lock in your answer, so it's getting through over, Bruce.
You did just say Ben the second time.
And
I
then
did
you
say
said
it the
Ben.
second time.
So
I thought that was the fucking name of like the.
Well, you were wrong.
that's what everybody thought. Yeah, that's why it's a trick question. But you lost anyway. Bruce got that point. Bruce, in 2021, which Japanese animated movie based on Beauty and the Beast was released? Sorry. It's a Japanese animated movie based on Beauty and the Beast. What is it?
Pass. I don't know.
Spirited Away.
No. Now, bear in mind, you kind of worked out my theme here. It was Belle, the name of the film.
Just Bell, was it? Right?
Because she was called Belle in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Yeah, see, simple. Simple. You got to work out. Work out. If you don't know, take a shot. Chris. Which 1943 movie shares the title with a Metallica track?
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yes, it is. I didn't think he was working that one out there. Bruce, in which 2007 movie would you hear Nikki Belunch sing "I Can Hear the Bells"?
2007.
2007.
I can hear the bells. Right, here we go. So this is my thinking here. Nikki Belunch. Never heard of this person. They're either a young actor or a character in a film I've not seen. And then it's singing, so it's a musical. And then bells. Right, okay, I'm thinking bells. So I'm thinking maybe school bells, young person bells. So I'm going to say High School Musical.
No, Chris.
Damn it.
School of Rock.
No, Hairspray.
Oh,
Ah,
Who's the last question going to?
went to me first, that one. So it's Chris's.
Chris. I don't know what the scores are, but this is the last question I've got.
Oh, he went first and is winning comfortably and has had more questions than me. So
Fine. Anyway, Chris, you can have it anyway.
should be a clean sweep. But carry on.
Which Donald Sutherland and Sissy Spacek movie? I don't know how to say that.
basic.
That one is based on true events of which Bell Witch?
What? Carrie? Carrie? That's what
No.
I think of that she's
She's
in.
in that. I should know the name of this film, and I'm blaming my illness for not getting the words. Is it The Omen? It's not The Omen. but-
No, it's An American Haunting.
Ah, yes, there we go. Chris,
So there you go. There's my Ringer movie because everything had to do with bells.
that was good. I like that quiz, Andy. That made us think. I've got some questions right. Chris won. No, I think Chris might be streaking this season through the.
Oh, and he keeps thinking they're rigged.
I know. I think he might be. On to point 6. Movies within the movies. Chris, why don't you show off for us a bit more?
Well, the multiverse. Jesse Ventura, who was the motivational speaker at the start, he was in the.
At the beginning, for no reason, reading that
Yeah.
bit. Like, it's really weird how he was just in that bit.
I recognised the voice. I had to check it was him, but he was in the Running Man as Captain Freedom,
He was.
and Demolition Man as one of the Cryocons.
That's right, Demolition Man. Yeah.
I had no idea who this was. Stephen Chester Prince, who was the delivery guy, called Peter. He was in A Scanner Darkly as a cop.
Right, I didn't even get him. I didn't see him.
I went through quite a lot here. Hugo Perez, he was a mailroom guy in, I'm assuming, in the office. He was in A Scanner Darkly as well. I haven't got his who for some reason. Anyway,
I just
Sean
remember.
Sean Gildeo, who was Elliot. I don't know who that is.
He's pulling us off.
I've got none of these. Like Jesse Ventura's the only one I've had so far,
I went to everybody.
and I've got 5.
He was in Dumb and Dumber as Seabass's friend.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I remember who he is now. He was also in Me, Myself, and Irene as a kid's father. I don't know which kids.
Oh, sorry, was that Zen Gesner? Is that how you said?
No, he's coming
Right.
up later on.
All right, because I've got him as he's in both those films as well.
Yeah.
So sorry. I'll
There's
shut
another
up.
one coming up. Mike Cerrone, who's Polly. I think must be one of the gangsters. He was
He
in Me,
was.
Myself, and Irene as the Officer Stubby.
I think he might have been the main gangster. I think Mike Cerrone. I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
You just mentioned him, Zen Gesner, David. He was in Dumb and Dumber as one of the cops. And then he was in Me and Myself Irene as Agent Peterson.
He was.
Jeff, you've already mentioned him as well. Jeffrey Arendt is Winston.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Devil. And Brian Cox was Uncle Gary. He was in Braveheart as our
I thought you were
girl.
going to miss him. In fact, he was way at the end. Brian Cox.
He was the best one. That's why I left until last.
Right, okay. He was the best last. And then you got my 5 in there. I missed the other ones. I don't know how. No, I was going to do which films it references, but it references so many. But it flat out puts Forrest Gump into the film. Like Forrest Gump there. But it's not Forrest Gump. It's quite clearly just someone doing an impression of Forrest Gump. So that made me laugh that they went with that. Chris, have you recast us into the film?
I have. I've lost my voice as well now. I put myself as Billy because I freak out when I find a fingerprint on my discs, never mind a scratch. Like, I hate the kids handling my DVDs and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'll just do that. I put Andy as Uncle Barker. I'm assuming that's Gary.
That's Brian
Gary
Cox.
Barker,
Yeah, why did I put Barker?
Uncle Barker.
Yeah.
Uncle Barker.
I can like totally see you coming up with like a ringer scam.
I'll take
And
it.
like the way he chooses cigars is me though. He chewed the
Oh yeah,
fuck out the
you
end
do
of
love
corner,
you do
yeah.
love to chew a cigar and smoke it.
I put Bruce as Glenn. I can see you like being like the athlete of us.
I didn't realize he was good. I'd already written these down before I got to Glenn winning because I thought I had to be Winston. Just for him to, like, was it asking me any movie? And then he liked Jaws, so I thought, oh, that's me. And then him being angry at missing ice cream, I thought, I'll go him. I made Andy Billy. It was just the way he met the like how Andy meets an outsider is very similar to how Billy meets him when he walks into the room, and he's immediately suspicious of this person.
Yep.
And Chris, you became Glenn. I'm not sure why you were Glenn. I think he
I'll
just
accept that. I like
made the
Glenn.
most sense. And that's us on that bit there. I'll go on to my questions that I pose in Movies Lego Movies. Could this film have come out in 1995? And I'm saying this is definitely the lost Jim Carrey film. I would say a different universe. Jim Carrey made this in 1995, and he's the main guy. And the fact that all the people from Dumb and Dumber and
apparently he was genuinely meant to be in it. Like he was the number one pick.
Did they mention him? Am I crazy? Was he mentioned?
Did you mention his name?
Yeah, they mentioned him. Yeah, he was meant to be in it, and along with the other person that's in a film he starred with. Dumb and no, can't be Dumb and Dumber.
Would it be Cameron Diaz instead of being?
Don't think it was Cameron Diaz. Somebody else, but yeah, it was another person.
Right, I could have been. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, this is 1995 all over it. This one here. Dead Man Walking. Well, nobody died, but I had concerns about Uncle Gary. I thought he might be. He could one we could bump off. And speaking of him, who's in the wrong movie? Brian Cox should be in this movie. He's too good for this. But also, everyone else kind of works. To be honest, it works as a film. And then the tropes. Andy's already taken mine. The guy pretends to be blank in order to get the girl. Was my trope. What about you, Chris? Have you got one?
To be different, I put someone gets a promotion and their first job is always to fire somebody.
I'm fine with that.
It really seems to be
it's like, I'll get promotion. Okay, fire this guy. I was like, why?
It's funny. There's always a guy waiting to be fired as well. It's like, why is this necessarily?
Because he took a dump in the guy's toilet.
Yeah, left the seat wet, or whatever it was. Point 7 on the podcast. That one thing. What is the one thing that makes this film special? Mine is kind of defunct because I went for the disabled actors being in the film. So it's not all of them, but the ones who are.
That is literally like what I was like. Like they just need like the one thing they do well in this film is actually having people like with special needs in a film and have a purpose. Like not just there for like comedic gags and that. They're like, and this film actually shows it. Like flipping to what I was saying, like more than they don't have enough special people, and the ones that are in it, like they're there. You don't see them any differently, which it does really well in this film.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I specifically went for Eddie Barbinell, but like I'll agree with you.
He was Billy, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently, yeah. The guys, the cast, I guess. There we go. Point 8 on the podcast. Our nominations for the 10 Point Podcast Awards at the end of the year. Chris, why don't you hit us with your ones and we'll argue when we can.
Bit of a controversial one. I put Johnny Knoxville as worst actor.
See, I thought he was alright. I thought he was alright. I can't put him bad or good.
I put him in it, and then like the first half of the film, he was Art Guff, and then he started to like become a better actor.
I say we opt out. I think he did well enough. You could tell when he was turning Jeff on and turning Steve on, if you know what I'm saying. So
it wasn't the same person. So
let's
I think
not
he
go
did
in.
act.
Right. Let's not go
I put best supporting, It's a torn between two. I'll put Eddie Barbernell, but I really want to put Jed Reese as well.
I've got Brian Cox.
Well, see, I would say Jed Reese is best actor because he had me confused.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he had me 110% convinced.
We'll have him as best supporting then, of Jed Reese.
I don't really need to put it, but I'll say best team is the group, the Magnificent Seven. We'll call them.
Magnificent Seven, yeah. All right, let's go for them, yeah.
Biggest bellend is David.
Yep. Second I saw him, I was like, he's biggest bellend. I can tell.
Yep.
I'll leave that on blank. Best inanimate object was Billy's CD.
No. It's the stabby foam finger is the best.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought of that.
that's and the fact that what do you think Uncle Gary went through to get a custom made stabby foam finger? Like, that's stabby and all that written on it and all that sort of stuff. That for me, that's best inanimate object. I'm not having it any other way.
All right. My worst plan is trying to rig the Special Olympics and pretending you have a disability.
But technically, it almost it did work. The plan worked.
I've gone for worst plan, giving Stavy the gardening job.
Well, yes.
Firing him.
Yeah,
Because the whole thing is, isn't needed, isn't required. He just should have said, "All right, sorry, Stavy, you'll find another job."
Yeah.
Okay. Blah blah blah. I've got to be a list. Blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Is it best plan rigging the Olympics? Is that best plan?
Well, it's just I don't know. It's not even a good plan. Well, it's a good plan in theory, but I don't know. I don't think we could give it a props.
Fair enough.
Okay. My Diana John Jules, Terry Funk, out of nowhere.
Absolutely. I had Jesse Ventura, but immediately I'm like, nah, Terry Funk. Without a line, like no reason. It's like random.
It's like some random like bouncer guy.
Yep.
But my conclusion would be, well, he was in Beyond the Mat, so Barry Blaustein.
That makes perfect sense now. Because it's one of them ones. It's like, why the hell is he in this? Yeah, that now makes sense.
Okay. Best fight is the priest beating the shit out of Jeffy.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Best line. When the fuck did we have ice cream?
Yeah.
Probably. But I had from early doors had written down Uncle Gary. If it's love that you want so bad, if you win, I'll do. That's what he says to Steve at one point. But yeah, I think the ice cream stuff was.
I do the ice cream one.
Best entrance is Jimmy. And his limo and his crew and all that.
As an
entrance, the first time we see him.
Yeah. I still wouldn't give it up an award.
I'm not sure because it was a bit of a dick move. I'm not sure why that.
I don't really see why they hate him so much. He's just good.
Well, because he fucking turns up on track with a fucking limo.
Blah, 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 blah. Best song, Magnificent Seven.
Actually, it should be that, but I've got September by Earth, Wind and Fire, which is an absolute banger, which is something of September at the party, at the prom thing they're at. But Magnificent Seven is important to us now, I think, for it, so it probably has to be that.
That one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Brace yourselves here.
Oh, God, here we go.
Worst physics. In the words of Uncle Gary, one of ours beats one of theirs. It's simple physics. It's not how physics work.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Yeah.
That's a direct quote. It's not.
Oh yeah.
I put best product placement as Burger King because Glenn mentioned it more than once. I love a Burger King.
Andy, do you want to tell?
I'll see. Like he is right, but the one that stood out to me the most was Costco.
Same. Yep. Same. Because they were like, "Oh, Costco's amazing," and everyone was praising how good Costco was.
Oh yeah.
So it's not in it. In fact, it's not even branding. They just mention it.
They just mention it, which I think stands out more.
I think so as well. Stood out to me certainly. It's Costco.
That's me.
Cool. Best character name Jeffy Dahmore has to be.
Fuck! I forgot that one.
It's a cracking up every time. Done that one. Best stunt, which used to be a thing at some point. Pick a Knoxville one that you want, I guess. Falling on his back with a wet floor or the high jump.
Oh, yeah, that's the one because he's slipped and it looks like he cracked his head.
Yeah. So one of those for him. And you've said that one. Most underused will go Brian Cox if
I would say so.
I think he was really good. Needed more him in the audience. And then that's me. Chris picked up all the rest of mine. Andy, any others you've missed?
No, that's it.
Okay. On to point 9, the moral of the story. What we thought the lesson we're supposed to learn from the ringer was. I've just got, don't mess with disabled people. That's the from this. They're pretty handy. What about you, Chris?
I would always copy a priest when placing bets. They're privy to some
He lost.
He lost
information.
though.
Oh, not
bet-
at all.
You bet on Jeffy. That's a terrible moral. You've missed the lesson you're supposed to
Well,
learn.
most like 9 times out of 10, other people get their information from people saying, "Oh, I'm rigging this horse here." So
Yeah, I have sinned. I'm rigging a horse race. Yeah, good
Yeah.
point. What about you, Andy? Moral of the story?
Moral of the story is general moral story is don't rig the Special Olympics.
Yeah, I guess so. Don't book a judge by its color. Oh, for goodness sake. Don't book a judge by its color. That's the moral of the story here. I'll leave it there. We're getting there. This is going to be the quickest podcast ever if I have my
Struggling.
point 10. The 10-point rating where we rate the movie out of 10. Andy, you go first.
I remember loving this film. It still makes me laugh bits, not as much as it did now, and it kind of annoys me more parts that in this PC world because they didn't actually just use people with special needs. I can see why they didn't back then, because they got actors that can actually act perfectly well, as we've seen. But I feel like the new Woody Harrelson film could trump this film.
Could be.
So I'm not going to rate this film overly high. It's bang average for what it is. It's an enjoyable film. It's a 5.
5 from Andy. Chris, I've got you next because I anticipated you having definitely seen it.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen it. I like the fact it was made when actors were allowed to act.
Yes, I know what you mean. We all know.
Right, I get you.
I remember. I mean, I loved it when I was back then. I thought it was funny. Not like they were funny. I thought they were actually funny
100%.
actors.
And I think that's what we can definitely take away from this is it. Like this film does really well. Is you don't laugh at them for
Not
special
laugh
needs
at
at
them.
all.
You laugh at their jokes.
You're laughing with them.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of laughing like they're taking the piss out of like Johnny Knoxville and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's more making fun of Knoxville than there is making fun of everyone with disabilities.
So I enjoyed it. It's getting a 6 for me. Like I could watch this again.
The film is so I hadn't thought I'd seen it before, but I had seen it before, but forgotten it basically. Way less offensive than it seems like it's going to be. Like you think, oh, Jesus.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you think the R1's going to come out a lot, but it doesn't.
But it is not. It is not what it is. Not. It's a family comedy basically. It's a very light story, very watchable as well. Like the first half, we said the first half hour wasn't very interesting. The first half of the film's gone. Like boom,
it flies. It does fly.
We're in the Olympics now, and then I finished it. It's an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. Flew through it, absolutely. So easy to watch on this week when I'm feeling terrible. So I enjoyed it. I can't give it a 5 like Andy, and I'm not giving it a 6 like Chris. It's a 4 for me, but very watchable, very fine, funny, but not like hilarious. I wouldn't turn it on. Oh, I need a really good time. I'll put The Ringer on. But yeah, nothing wrong with it. Really, it's fine.
I feel like the Snowflake generation need to just watch this film and just see, like, this is how films can be made, tastefully, funny, and I really do hope that this was obviously the stepping stone for the Champion film that's coming out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there we go. 5 out of 10. Quite easy to work that one out. 5 out of 10. A bang average film. I think that's very fair. I think it doesn't deserve any less than that necessarily. Chris, any guesses? Andy's theme. He's done The Ringer and he's done The Human Race. Now, these are quite similar.
I'm going to say people with disabilities.
No.
Well, I was going to say races was my first thing. I thought
both are true.
Yeah.
Both have disabilities and both have races in them.
Yeah.
But it's not the theme.
It's not like sporting contests or is it contests, something like that?
No.
I'm going to leave my next guess until next time. I might have it.
Say it.
Well, I don't think I have it. I was going to say films that could be made nowadays.
No.
They could make The Human
But they're
Race.
literally making this film again. Like it
Oh,
comes
okay,
out.
so there.
It literally
Films that they
comes
would
out in
make
2
nowadays.
days.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't think
But
of
then
it.
we'll leave it. It's hard on two without any clues. Speaking of clues, some easy clues for my selection for next time. Now, we've got a short recording week because of my illness this week. This could make Andy very happy or very sad. Because I'm picking, and I've always been picking a film he's watched recently. So Andy may not have to watch it again, which will really help his week. 1996, horror, mystery. Let's just do Scream. The new one's coming out. That's my selection for the week. And it fits in my theme as well. And it's what I was always...
You don't have to watch. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
I did watch all four
Yeah.
screens.
maybe fast forward through the first one again, get your refresher back.
This could get messy. It's going to be Scary Movie and Scream 1 to 4 wrapped up into one podcast by me.
When you mentioned it, that you'd watched it, I was like, damn, I was gonna pick that, and I said, sod it, I'll pick it anyway, it'll be fine.
But look, we're all picking films that are coming out. Like the one like Scream's coming out in like probably time we've recorded it. Like Scream will be coming out. I've picked The Ringer and The Champion's coming out. You're letting the side down, Chris. And the wheels got the current new streaming things that we can all get.
Yeah.
What's Chris going to throw us next? But yeah, Scream. I'm happy with Scream.
Scream, very good.
My next pick could be a film coming out, or in the process of being made. So.
Well, there we are.
Speaking of ringers, Chris is definitely ours.
Yes, Chris is our ringer. Let's leave it at that. Yeah, 1996, the original Scream, not the one from last year. The actual 1996 one with Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox and all that. A nice horror movie week for us here on the 10 Point Podcast. Give that one a look out, and we'll see you next time on the 10 Point Podcast.